Prabhupada ki Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Thakur Prabhupada ki Srila Ramacharya Haridas Thakur ki Srila Advaita Acharya Prabhu ki Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी क्षेत्र धाम की गंगा मई यमुना मई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी सामवेद भक्त वृंद की all glories to assembled glories to assembled glories to assembled glories to Lord of Shri Guru and Shri Gaur Hari Hari Bol Srila Advaita Acharya Mahaprabhu ki jai.
Nursing prayers. No class? No, generally we have nursing prayers. But today we are. Yeah. You are singing.
Hare Krishna everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Today is a very auspicious day.
the appearance day of Sri Advaita Acarya. We'll hear more about Advaita Acarya from His Grace Premvilas Prabhu. Everybody knows Premvilas Prabhu here? You know Premvilas Prabhu? So Premvilas means, Prem means love and Vilas means pastimes. So one who is absorbed in the loving pastimes is Premvilas. So he's going to tell us some very beautiful pastimes of Advaita Acharya and the teachings there. It is the mercy of Advaita Acharya that we are, we have this Sankirtan movement because Lord Chaitanya came because of Advaita Acharya. So Premvilas Prabhu is a doctor by profession. And just like we have Murari Gupta in Chaitanya Leela. So he heals not only physical body, but he heals the heart. So he is a very dedicated, talented disciple of the Vaishnava Acharya from Guru Maharaj. So we are very fortunate that we are going to hear from his lotus mouth the glories of Advaita.
Hare Hare Krishna devotees. Devotees, welcome all of you. Thank you for our small attempt to serve Srila Advaita Acharya. I don't know what we can do in this life to serve Srila Advaita Acharya, to thank him, to glorify him. But this is a small, very small, humble attempt. Is this on? Is this on? Hare Krishna. So this is our little small attempt at the Krishna house here to just purify our hearts by meditating on and speaking about something about Srila Advaita Acharya. Please forgive me for any omissions, commissions, mistakes. Please bless me. You're all Mahajans, very, very elevated devotees. I'm like an insect in front of you. So thank you so much for giving this opportunity and coming together to celebrate this festival. This is officially like our first festival of the year, and hopefully very, very soon we'll be celebrating Nityananda Trayodashi, then Mahaprabhu's appearance. Hopefully we'll have more such festivals. We'll celebrate the appearance and disappearance day of our Acharyas, Gadadhar Pandit, Srivas Thakur, other festivals. And hopefully in these festivals we can all come together and serve together and chant and dance together, hear some katha, and hopefully get some inspiration to share this with others. So that's the whole idea of organizing a festival. Much gratitude to all the cooks, all the devotees who have done seva today. Much, much gratitude to all the devotees who have cleaned up and put everything back together. So the schedule is about an hour of katha of Advaita Acharya, and then we'll have some prasad and like that. Om Gyati Grantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitadena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutalo Swayam Rupakadhamiyam Dadati Swapadhantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sakarjatam Sahagara Gunathantam Sujivam Sadhvaitam Sadhbhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakharvatam Swa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patithana Bhavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you. Hare.
Hare Krishna. One very beautiful verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Panch Tattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupa Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shakti. Krishna's Kaviraj explains that absolute truth, tattva, tattva means truth. The word truth comes from the word tattva. Absolute truth is one, but he expands himself into unlimited varieties for the purpose of rasa, for the purpose of enjoyment. So why did the absolute truth, the supreme absolute truth, came down as Panch Tattva? Is to actually show that not everything is one, that there are varieties and there are categories and there are different emanations from the Supreme Lord. It is the same Supreme Lord who emanates in different varieties. So in this 5 varieties, Panch Tattvatmakam, are 5 different categories. Panch Tattvatmakam, Krishna. Krishna, the Supreme Absolute Truth, has descended in 5 different categories. Panch Tattvatmakam Krishna. First category, Bhakta Rupa, in the form of his devotee. Even the Lord, even the Supreme Absolute Truth, wants to become a devotee, to relish devotional service. So that is the first principle. We are actually relishing bhakti. We are relishing devotional service. Only thing which the Supreme Lord does not have, he is not able to enjoy the mellows and the rasa and the unlimited varieties of devotional service which a devotee is experiencing. So this is the first principle, that what does God doesn't have? He's not enjoying the mellows of devotional service as experienced by Radharani, her Mahabhava. So Bhakta Rupa is Chaitanya, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has come in the form of a devotee, stealing the luster of Radharani, stealing her bhav, stealing her emotion. He doesn't want to come alone. He wants to steal everything. Hari is a thief. He steals everything and comes down to relish it and to enjoy it. So bhakti is enjoyment. Srila Prabhupada says purpose of life is to enjoy. Srila Prabhupada explains there are 2 ways to enjoy. You can enjoy your senses, or you can make a strong determination that I will give Krishna enjoyment. One who enjoys his senses, I don't want to use the word demon, it's called a demon. And one who makes a firm determination that I will give enjoyment to Krishna's senses is a devotee. Divine and demonic nature. Very simple. There are 2 ways to enjoy. There's no third way. You can enjoy yourself, and that is demonic. Or you can give Krishna enjoyment. You can give Krishna pleasure. And that, because we are part and parcel of Krishna, that enjoyment is complete. It's complete. Otherwise, it's incomplete. Ishopanishad begins with this aphorism. Om Purnam Madha Purnam Midam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Because the Supreme Lord is complete, all his emanations are complete, this phenomenal world is complete, and all living entities are complete. But we are dependently complete. Just like my finger, without being a part of my body, has no meaning. People write poetry about people's hairs, right? Now you go to a barber shop and the hair is cut on the floor. So disgusting. So disgusting. You have to spend so much money. Every kid has to wear a brace in America. You go to a dentist office, it took his tooth out. You don't want to see it. So this idea of completeness, complete enjoyment, complete happiness comes from being dependently complete on Krishna. We are dependently complete. So this is basic understanding. Without this understanding, no spiritual life is ever possible. A pure devotee, even when fulfilling the bodily necessities, eating or sleeping, he feels disgusted. He feels deplorable, disgusting. What is this? I have to do this. I have to sleep, I have to eat, I have to do some bodily things. Disgusting. Sign of a pure devotee. For mixed devotees, there is some overlap. But the principle is that enjoyment, perfect enjoyment is possible by giving pleasure to Krishna, by serving his senses to the degree we can. Okay. So, Panchatatvaka Bhakta Rupa, Bhakta Swarupakam. That is, who's Bhakta Swarupakam? Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Bhakta Rupa, Panchatattvatmakam Krishna, the Supreme Absolute Truth has come in 5 forms. First is Bhakta Rupa, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhakta Swarupakam, his expansions. So Lord is always there with his expansions. So we see, so many expansions. Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Radharani. Radharani is the pleasure potency, the Ladini Shakti. Jagannath, what a beautiful expansion of the Lord. Balarama, Subhadra, Gaura Vishnu, so many Vishnu Tattvas. So all of them together, the rasa expands and expands and expands, and then devotees. So first is the Lord himself, who's Bhakta, who has taken the form of a devotee to relish the mellows of devotional service, to relish the mellows of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, to relish bhakti, to relish the separation from the Lord, to relish the association of devotees. The Supreme Lord has come down to the world to take prasadam with the devotees, right? To give Krishna consciousness to others. These are all activities of rasa, supreme mellow. Bhakta Rupa, along with that, Bhakta Swarupakam, along with whenever the Lord comes, his expansions. So Nityananda Prabhu is Bhakta Swarupakam. So this is an important verse, just deliberating on it a little bit. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam. Bhakta Avataram. Bhakta Avataram is Advaita Acharya. When this Kali Yuga was beginning, Sadashiva, not the Shiva of this word, not his expansions called Rudra, but Sadashiva. That Sadashiva is Vishnu. He's expansion of Vishnu. Milk is transformed into yoga. Just that. That Vishnu who lives in Vaikuntha Loka, he goes to the shore of the causal ocean at the beginning of this Kali Yuga, 5,000 years ago. This is the 51st year of Brahma, his first day, 28th Yuga cycle. We're in the 28th Kali Yuga, yes? 1,000 Yuga cycles in one day of Brahma. Brahma celebrated his birthday yesterday. Approximately 5,000 years ago, Sadashiva, when he saw the suffering in Kali Yuga, the misery, hypocrisy in Kali Yuga, out of Lord Shiva's compassion, he went to the shore of causal ocean. And there, he meditated for 700 years. And he did intense tapasya to Mahavishnu. And after 700 years, Mahavishnu appeared and he said, "Oh Sadashiva, for what are you performing these austerities?" And Sadashiva replied, "Prabhu, I'm seeing this Kali Yuga which is coming, which has already started. And this is going to continue for 432,000 years. So I'm praying to you, please help me. I cannot see the suffering of the living entities in this Kali Yuga. Please help me so that I can relieve everybody from this suffering, so that I can make people happy." And hearing this, Mahavishnu tightly embraced Sadashiva. And from that embrace of Mahavishnu, that the embrace was, yes, let your desire be fulfilled. Let people in Kali Yuga have a redeeming, let this Kali Yuga have a redeeming quality, a redeeming nature, something which is constant. So Mahavishnu, fulfilling the desire of Sadashiva, embraced him tightly. And from that embrace, when Sadashiva and Mahavishnu became one, from that, an amazing personality came. He was also golden in complexion. And he was shouting loudly, he was roaring loudly, "Krishna, Krishna." And when he was chanting Krishna, Krishna, tears were flowing from his eyes like Ganga and Yamuna. And it is described that in his body, he was experiencing goosebumps, which were as big as kadamba flowers, black, dark, big. His entire whitish, creamish body was covered with the kadamba flowers of goosebumps. And Ganga and Yamuna were flowing from his eyes. And he was dancing and chanting widely, and he was roaring loudly. The word is Hunkar. And he was saying, I will make Krishna come down. I will make Krishna come down. And I, by my strength, by my tapasya, by my devotion, I will make Krishna come down. I will inaugurate the Yuga Dharma for this age, which is the Sankirtan of the holy name. And I will deliver every single living entity in this Kali Yuga. And I will make Kali Yuga empty. So immediately Yamaraj comes running. He sees this form, the son of the child of Suryadev, Yamaraj comes. He says, Prabhu, by seeing just this form of yours, by hearing about you, people will be delivered. So what will I do? So he says, Yamaraj, don't you have any compassion? Employment is one thing, compassion is another thing. Don't you have any compassion? Okay, everybody will be saved. But the blasphemers and the atheistic people will not be saved. You will have your jurisdiction only over them. Your jurisdiction in this Kali Yuga is not for people who chant the holy name of Hari from their mouth. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I was explaining, you can either satisfy your senses or satisfy Krishna's senses. This is the best way of satisfying everything. It makes everything complete. One equation which makes everything complete. So Yamaraj, very disappointed, went back to his abode. On the more earthly planet, from the realm of Sadashiva and causal ocean and the shore of causal ocean, on a more earthly planet, there is this very beautiful pastime. 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, India, Bengal. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement had been limited to certain places within India. And even there, things were not looking so rosy. And in the house of Advaita Acarya, his house is like a temple, a shrine, a memorial. So we're talking 1930s, 1940s, 1950s India. The Pujari explained, he narrated the story, that a Bengali gentleman in his middle age, he would come regularly to the house of Advaita Acharya. And he would sit in one corner and he would be chanting the holy name. And as he would be chanting, tears would flow from his eyes. And sometimes the Pujari would notice that his voice while chanting would choke up. And he would lose all external consciousness for hours on end. And the Pujari didn't want to disturb this gentleman. So he would just watch him from a distance. And then at the end of the day, he would give him some prasad. And that gentleman would profusely thank this Pujari for his seva. And he would leave. He had a divine presence about him. He had a Shakti about him. He had an aura which would emanate from his body by the strength of his devotion. And this would continue. He would come on the weekends. Sometimes he would come twice or thrice a month. He won't speak with anybody. And this continued for many years. Pujari went from his youth to his middle age. And then around late 50s, that gentleman stopped coming. Another 6, 7 years went by. And that Pujari in Advaita Bhavan, Advaita Acharya's home, he saw that somebody from wearing saffron and carrying a danda was sitting alone and was chanting. As he was chanting, he was paying repeated obeisances to Advaita Acharya. Again, he noticed that tears were streaming from his eyes, and he was crying profusely. And he was expressing this deenta about himself. And then at the end of the day, the pujari brought him some prasad. And he saw and he realized that this is the same person who was his friend, who used to come to the house of Advaita Acharya for many, many months. And he said, "What is your name?" And he said, "My name is." He said, "I'm an unworthy servant of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. My name is Abhay Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami. And my Guru Maharaj has given me an impossible task. He has asked me, he has repeatedly come in my dreams, he has repeatedly implored me to leave home, to leave every single comfort I know behind, and to cross the ocean and go to the Western countries and to spread the Harinam Sankirtan in the Western countries. And I feel so utterly unqualified and incapable. So I'm praying here so that I can get the strength to please my Guru Maharaj. I do not know whether I will live or whether I will die. I do not know what will happen to me. I do not know if this is possible. At the very outset, this looks impossible. But please bless me that I can try, I can make an effort. And the pujari was stunned. He had never seen anything like this. That time, this is just a few days before he was going. He had nothing, he had no resources, no contacts, no connection, nothing. And he said, I'm going to cross the ocean and I'm going to take this movement to the Western countries. And this pastime was narrated much later by the pujari to a disciple of Srila Prabhupada called Mula Prakriti Devidasi, who wrote this beautiful book, Our Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All. She took all the interviews from people who knew Srila Prabhupada before coming. Painstakingly, she went to local, Srila Prabhupada was a resident of Bengal. He was a very, he had no title or position, but he was very influential in Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's movement. He established the temples in Allahabad. He supported the temples in Bengal. He was very instrumental in establishing the temple in Mumbai, so much so that the leaders of the temple said, we should make Bhaktivedanta Swami the president of the temple. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur replied, no, his time will come and he will do everything himself. You do not need to recommend him. And it was, of course, Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, but it was Advaita Acharya's empowerment and his mercy, which is actually the root cause of devotion, the root cause of appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Krishna is pining in the spiritual world. Think about it. He's pining in the spiritual world to experience the bhakti of Radha, to experience her bhava, and to relish his own sweetness. The three reasons. Mahavishnu and Sadashiva are embracing each other to relieve the suffering of the living entities. And on a more earthly realm, a very saintly couple in Bengal, in a district Silhat, in the present day Bangladesh, Kuvera Pandit and Labha Devi, the mother and earthly mother and father of Advaita Acharya. Who was Kuvera Pandit? Kubera Pandit is none other than Kuber, the treasurer of the demigods, and one of the leaders of the ghostly followers of Lord Shiva. Advaita Acharya's father, Kubera Pandit, is none other than Kubera. That Kubera on the Kailash fountain is very intently chanting the Shiva mantra, praying to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva comes and says, Kuber, what do you want? He says, I want you as my son. And Lord Shiva says, yes, it will be. And he said, huh? Yeah. He said, that will be so. May your desire will come true. And Labha Devi is none other than Parvati. Huh? So Kubera Pandit, is praying to Lord Shiva. You can see how much the transcendental energy was working together to make this possible. Kubera Pandit and Labha Devi, chaste and ascetic, they had 7 children before Advaita Acharya. 6 boys and 1 girl. 1 girl was incarnation of Ganga. The 4 boys, when they became teenagers, they took sannyas. 4 of Advaita Acharya's older brothers took sannyas. Then they went to the forest. Sannyas meant going to the forest and performing austerities. They never came back home. Only 2 of Kubera Pandit's and Labha Devi's children remained with them. So they were very distressed. So they left Silhat and they came to Shantipur to perform tapasya and to perform austerity. They were feeling separation from their children. And Labha Devi became pregnant again. In this state of austerity, Kubera Pandit and Labha Devi, they were devotees of Narayana, Vishnu. So Labha Devi became pregnant again. And Labha Devi, when she was pregnant, she saw a dream. And in that dream, she saw Mahavishnu and Sadashiva becoming one. And Shivji, the Sadashiva, doing his Tandav Nritya, and Mahavishnu in his white form, laying in the causal ocean with millions of helmets and millions of conches and millions of mace and millions of his paraphernalia. And she paid her obeisances to them, but they in turn paid obeisances to her. She said, we are the children, you are the mother. And we want to worship you and wash your feet with the rivers of all the holy water. And she woke up startled and she narrated this dream to Kubera Pandit. Kubera Pandit and Labha Devi, they performed tapasya, they invited astrologers. And on this day of the month of Magh, this is January, February, in the bright fortnight of moon, Shukla Paksh, right? Krishna Paksh is the dark fortnight. Krishna means dark. And Shukla means bright fortnight. On the Saptami, today is Advaita Saptami. Ekadashi is on Tuesday, right? On this day, Advaita Acharya, after 10 months of pregnancy, made his appearance in this material. 52 years prior to the advent of Lord Chaitanya. In 1434, 1486 is Mahaprabhu's appearance. 52 years prior to that. To fulfill the desires of Kubera, to fulfill the desires of Sadashiva and Mahavishnu, that personality became Advaita Acharya. Sometimes we are asked, you do not respect devatas, you don't worship devatas. Of course we do. Of course we do. Our philosophy is very simple. By watering the root of the tree, everything is automatically watered. You can take a pipette and water each and every leaf and 333 million devatas. Or you can water the root of the tree. In that root, there is everything. We worship Sadashiva. We worship Mahavishnu. Everything is included in the name of Krishna. And we follow the Upanishadic principle of worshipping the complete whole. By worshipping the complete whole, everything is simultaneously worshipped. So, his name was given by his parents as Kamal Aksha. It is described his beauty, how beautiful that child was, lotus-eyed, and he was known as Kamalaksha. There is one pastime. So the Leela of great saintly people is divided into three categories. First is the Komar, 0 to 5 years of age. Then 6 to 10 is called Pauganda. 10 to 15 is called Kishora. And then so on and so forth. But we understand that Advaita Acharya being Vishnu Tattva, Vishnu when he takes birth, he never becomes old. He never really becomes old. And there is some debate whether Srila Advaita Acharya his body ever became old, whether he should have a beard or not, but that's another story. So in this first 5 years of age, when Srila Advaita Acharya appeared, he was playing with his mother one time. And they were playing just like, and he said something. And his mother said, no, you are wrong, to a little baby. He said, if I'm wrong and you are right, then I will bring all the holy rivers and I will wash your feet with all the holy rivers. And his mother was remembering the dream she had, where Mahavishnu and Sadashiva was saying, we will bring all the holy rivers and wash your feet. And in fact, the little boy was defeated in that argument. And he actually brought all the rivers and he worshipped his mother's feet. Another incident, he was playing with the sun. So his father Kuvera was a minister in the kingdom of King Divya Singha, who was a worshipper of Lord Nrsimhadev. And his father was a minister. One time, the king's son and Kamalaksha were playing. And they were playing and they went to the temple of Devi. They were playing the local Kali temple. And Kamalaksha didn't pay his obeisances. But the king's son said, Kamalaksha, we're in the temple. Why don't you pay your obeisances to him? And Kamalaksha said, no, I don't need to pay my obeisances. And then the king's son again re-emphasized. And Kamalaksha just roared loudly. And the king's son fainted. And they brought the physician and the king came and all the ministers came. And the son could not come into consciousness. Then they asked, what happened? What happened? And the priest said that Kamalaksha, I heard this loud roar. And they brought Kamalaksha. And Kamalaksha, he actually got the water which has washed the feet of Vishnu. And he sprinkled it on the sun. And the sun woke up again, as if nothing had happened. Similar pastime happened in his Poganda age. He was about 7 years old, and there was a festival, Kali festival, huge festival, and thousands of people had come to the temple, and the king was there, and Kamalaksha's father was there, and everybody came and everybody paid obeisances to Kali one by one. Offerings were made to Kali, even sacrifices of animal sacrifices were being made to Kali, and Kamalaksha refused to pay obeisances. So the king said this time, Kamalaksha, pay your obeisances, like teaching him. And Kamalaksha said, I do not worship that God who accepts animal sacrifices. And the king replied, you are going to teach us? The priest says those animals which are killed and sacrificed, they attain heaven immediately. So Kamalaksha replied, if this is true, then why don't you test this hypothesis with your mother and father? You can offer them also, And king was thinking, this person is so rude. And his father, Kubera Pandit, shut him, said, Kamalaksha, what are you doing? Pay your obeisances. And Kamalaksha said, I cannot pay obeisances. Please do not force me. But they forced him to pay obeisances. So he said, okay, so be it. And he came in the front of the deity of Kali and he paid his obeisances. And the deity of Kali burst open in pieces in front of everyone. And from inside the deity came Kali. And Kali paid her full Dandavat pranams to Advaita Acharya. He said, you fools, this person is my master. He is Shiva. He is Vishnu. And, I cannot accept obeisances from my master. And then Kali disappeared. And then Kamalaksha said that I only pay my obeisances and my respect and my worship to that supreme Brahman of which everything is a part and parcel. And the one idea was demigod worship. The other idea was, the idea is that the supreme Brahman, the formless Brahman is one, and you can worship any form. All the forms are equal. That's one argument. The second argument Mayavadis give is that the formless has to be supreme. When you give him a form, you limit him. You limit the formless, this expansive, tremendous energy of the Lord by giving him a form. Why are you limiting him? And my form may be different from your form. So we can worship any form. And we don't need to give the most expansive thing in this world of form and limit him. But that will come later. So like this, these are two pastimes which are described in his Kaumara and Poganda years. Kamalaksha was enrolled in school. He learned all different disciplines of education, Nyaya, Alankar, ornamentation, logic, alphabet, math, and he was a Shrutidhar. He could hear one thing and learn everything. He learned the entire Vedas by just listening to it one time. His teachers were very, very, very happy with him. Kamalaksha set a very beautiful example by serving his mother and father in his early years. And his parents were very happy. And his parents told Kamalaksha when he was 12 years old, he said, we are very pleased with your service. We have been told that your birth is meant to deliver all of the jivas in this world. Now it's time for us to go. And they called for Vishnu, and there comes a Vimana in front of everybody. A Vimana comes from them, from Vaikuntha. They both ascended, and then they both left in their bodies, just like that. Krishna says, Tesham aham sammudhartha. I deliver Mrityu samsara sagara. I deliver my devotee from this material world. I will come on Garuda and I will take my devotee to Vaikuntha Loka. And then Kamalaksha, at the age of 12, having completed his education, having received the Brahmanical Diksha, having completed his education, having done all his seva to his parents and delivering them, he went to a pilgrimage. And it is described that he first went, obviously from Bengal, he went to Jagannath Puri. There he had darshan of Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. He honored their prasadam. From there he went all the way to South India. And he traveled to different places of pilgrimage. And after completing the pilgrimage in the length and breadth of India, he reaches Vrindavan. And when he reached Vrindavan, his ecstasy and the bhav in his heart really knew no bounds. First he reached Mathura, then Vrindavan, and then he reached Govardhan. In Govardhan, as Srila Advaita Acharya was resting, a seminal event took place in the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, the discovery of Srila Madan Mohan. This deity was actually worshipped by Kubja in Dwapar Yuga. And this deity was, of course, because of the invasions and desecrations of the temples, this deity was hidden. And as Advaita Acharya was resting in Govardhan under a banyan tree, the deity came in the dream of Advaita Acharya and said, I have been hiding under some flower bushes. Please take me out and please worship me. Advaita Acharya immediately gathered all of the devotees and they started digging at a particular spot, and they found the deity of Srila Madan Mohan. And beautiful ceremonies are described. And then the deity came in the dream of Advaita Acharya and said, a very saintly couple called Purushottam Chaube and his wife will come from Mathura. They are my great devotees. I want you to give them these deities to them. And Advaita Acharya was heartbroken, but Purushottam Chaube came. Advaita Acharya gave Diksha mantra to Purushottam Chaube, taught him how to worship Shri Radha Madan Mohan, and gave Madan Mohan to Purushottam Chaube, who would worship him as his son, just like a son in their house. Later on, when Sanatan Goswami came to Vrindavan, this is after many, many years, when Sanatan Goswami came, Sanatan Goswami was begging alms, and he went to the house of Purushottam Chaube and he saw the beauty of Madan Mohan. And Madan Mohan came in the dream of Purushottam Chaube and said, now you gift me to Srila Sanatan Goswami. And of course, Sanatan Goswami asked, but Purushottam Chaube didn't want it to give. But when DT said, then Purushottam Chaube followed the order of the DT and gave them to Sanatan Goswami, who took them to this particular hillock in Vrindavan called Dwadas Aditya Tila. 12 sons, Dwadash Aditya Tila, a hill, and in the beginning made a small hut and was offering them chapati without any salt, until the deity started asking for some salt. And then we know this beautiful exchange. He says, today you're asking for salt, I don't know what will happen tomorrow. I do parikrama of Govardhan, I am a sadhu, just expect them to accept this bhati. He'll take some flour, make it wet, roll it up, put it in the fire, and he would offer it to the deity of bhati. That was his braj roti. And then after that, around the same time, a merchant was passing with his boat in the Yamuna, and his boat got stuck. And he had to go to Agra to sell his wares. The local people said, you should go to Sanatan Goswami Pad. He's a mystic. Maybe he can help you. So this businessman goes to Sanatan Goswami Pad. He asks for his blessings. And immediately they see that the boat has become unstuck and was floating on Yamuna very nicely. The merchant went to Agra. He made tremendous profit. And he came back and built that Madan Mohan temple. But that deity was discovered by Advaita Acharya, came in his dreams. And it was in the same location where Madhvendra Puri had his baitak, where the deity of Srinathji or Gopal, another story, was found on the banks of Govindakund in Govardhan. That's where Advaita Acharya Pad, Urkramapur. So that was Madan Mohan was found. And it is recommended that devotees should worship Radha Madan Mohan. They should have a picture of Radha Madan Mohan and worship him, because he's the Sambandha deity. We have attraction to Cupid or to lust, but worshipping Madan Mohan and chanting the pranam mantra of Madan Mohan helps us overcome and establishes our Sambandha with the deity. So the three principal deities of Gaudiya Vaishnavas are Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Govindaji, and Radha Gopinathji. So in our pranam mantras and our Mangala Charan, we should pray to Madan Mohan to have the Sambandha Gyan that I am a servant of Krishna. Srila Advaita Acharya went also to Udupi, met Sripad Madhavendra Puri, learned Srimad Bhagavatam from him. And then after completing his pilgrimage, he came back to Bengal. Now, when he came back to Bengal, he settled in Shantipur. He accepted 2 wives. Vishnu is always accompanied by Shri Devi and Bhudevi. That Shri Devi and Bhudevi is Sita Devi and her sister Shri Devi in the Gaura Leela. That Sita Devi and Shri Devi were offered to Advaita Acharya. He is also known as Sita Pati or Sita Nath. So Advaita Acharya is known as Kamalaksha or Advaita Acharya, Advaita Gosai, Sita Pati, Sita Nath, and other names for him. He accepted 2 wives and he settled in Shantipur on the bank of Ganga, and he lived an exemplary life of devotional service. Advaita Acharya set an example for all grihasthas to follow. He was the leader of the Vaishnavas in Navadvip, in that area. Srivas Thakur was there. But the people in general were highly materialistic. They were only concerned about earning money, getting wealth. They were concerned about their material well-being, worship of demigods. This philosophy, which is so deeply ingrained in what we call as Indian, that ultimate reality is Brahman, you can worship any form. You can worship Kali, you can worship Durga, you can worship Shiva, Vishnu, it's all one. Doesn't really matter. Whether you don't even worship, it's all good. Worship money, worship anything. So that ultimately leads to atheism. This was prominent. People were highly materialistic. People would spend millions of dollars in the weddings. They had dolls in their home. They would get them married, have doll shows, and would spend all their money. But they would not spend any money in worship of Vishnu. They would spend money on marriages of their children, of their sons and daughters. They would spend money on sense gratification, but they would not worship Vishnu. The Vaishnavas were deeply in a state of distress. Deeply in a state of distress. Srivas Thakur and his brothers, they would have all-night kirtan, loud kirtan in their home. The townspeople, the mayor and all the important people in the town, they had a meeting. They said this area is ruled by a Muslim Nawab. These Vaishnavas, they have nothing to do, they keep chanting all day. And now they have started loud kirtan. If Muslim Nawab finds out, he will come, he will burn this village and kill all of us. We have a proposition. We should kick Srivas Thakur and his brothers out of the town, burn his house, and then whatever is remained should throw it in the Ganga. So this was the state of existence. When Advaita Acharya heard this, he roared loudly. He said, I will bring Krishna to this material. I will establish the principles of religion. And if I cannot do it, then I will take up chakra and I will cut off the heads of all the atheistic people and blasphemers. He started worshipping Vishnu in the form of Shalagram Shila. They didn't have much wealth, but just with Tulasi Manjaris and Ganges water, he was worshipping Shalagram, and he was crying and he was praying every day for the advent of the Supreme Lord, to establish the Yuga Dharma for this age, and to redeem and deliver every jiva in the age of Kali. So with the Shalagram Shila on the banks of Ganga, he would offer Ganges water and Tulasi Manjaris, and he would worship loudly, and his loud call, his loud prayer penetrated Goloka Vrindavan and implored Krishna to come down to this material. Meanwhile, Srila Haridas Thakur, who was also, he was initially living in Benapol, and because of the intrigue of Ramachandra Khan, came to Saptagram, where he took up residence at the home of Yadunandana Acharya. And then Srila Advaita Acharya welcomed Haridas Thakur. Now he was born in a Muslim family, but Advaita Acharya recognized the deep devotion Srila Haridas Thakur had and his vow, and he saw him chanting 192 rounds every day. Although Advaita Acharya was the leader of the Brahmanas, and he was the leader, even the Smartha Brahmanas recognized his spiritual potency and his stature. When it would come time to give honor, he would honor Haridas Thakur. He welcomed Haridas Thakur. They both would engage in Sankirtan. And then on one particular day, he organized a Shraddh ceremony for his parents, and he invited all the Brahmanas. But the Mahaprasadam of Vishnu, he directly gave to Srila Haridas Thakur. And all the Brahmanas were they felt insulted by that. And they asked Advaita Acharya, that you have given this to a low caste person. somebody who's Muslim, and Advaita Acharya established the supremacy of Nama Tattva. Just to pacify some custom, he did not budge from what is the truth. He said the real Brahmana in this age is one who's always chanting the holy name. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Aho bata swapachota garyan yavartate jivagre nama tubhyam tepos tapas ahu shušnur juhu ashušnur arya brahmanu chura nam grananti. A person on whose tongue the holy name is always manifest, he has already completed all the Vedic studies, all the austerities, all the pilgrimage, all the charity, all the processes of karma, jnana and yoga, and he has become situated in his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. That person is higher than a so-called Brahmana or a so-called caste person. When Srila Prabhupada's disciple Achyutananda went to Madras, Chennai for the first time, South India, the bastion of Smarta Hinduism, the bastion of caste consciousness, the bastion of, Giriraj Maharaj tells the story. He was the first one Srila Prabhupada sent. And I have no idea how these devotees preached, but just one person who's American, who has been in the movement for 1 or 2 years, was preaching to all of the important people, including the Brahmanas in South India, in the temples in South India. And this person said to Achyutananda that you will have to take birth as a Brahmana. You will have to take birth in a Brahminical family to go back to Godhead. And Achyutananda said, you please tell me one thing, is karma, where you take birth, how you take birth, your samskara, the modes of material nature you're influenced by, is karma higher or the name of Krishna higher? And the Brahmana could not respond. The same Achyutananda, he went to Sri Lanka, and there was a national televised debate on the Sri Lankan soil, Tamils, and these are hardcore Tamils. They're Tamil tigers. They are not ordinary Tamils. And this Achyutananda had this debate on televised national TV, that what we are doing, the Sankirtan of the holy name, the chanting of the holy name, this is higher. This is actually Brahmanical culture. This is the sum total of Brahmanical culture to chant the holy name of Krishna. And he defeated them. So another, of course, Advaita Acharya was the one who really established this principle. So, after hearing the fervent pleas and cries of Advaita Acharya, Sri Krishna himself took birth from the womb of Shachi Deva as Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu. We'll talk about Gauranga Mahaprabhu later. We'll keep talking about Srila Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya, when he was worshipping the Shalagram Shila, he would offer flowers. One day, he noticed that the flowers he was offering and the lamp he was offering in the Ganga was swimming upstream. So he followed it for 20 miles and he came to Navadvip. And he saw that the flowers he was offering and the lamp he was offering circumambulated Shachi and came to her belly. She was pregnant. And Shachi, pushed them away. She was taking her bath. So she pushed the flowers away and the flowers again circumambulated her and again came to her. And she pushed them away again. Then she noticed that Advaita Acharya was paying obeisances to her, and behind him, Srila Haridas Thakur was paying obeisances to her. So she felt a little scared, little trepidation in her heart. First of all, what is this phenomenon? These flowers and ghee lamps are flowing upstream. They're circumambulating him. And these elderly Vaishnavas, Haridas Thakur and Advaita Acharya, are paying obeisances and they're dancing. So she went to her husband and she told Jagannath Mishra Jagannath Mishra went to Advaita Acharya. He said, Prabhu, is everything okay? Did we committed any offense? And Advaita Acharya reassured them, everything is fine. Your wife is carrying my prayers. Something amazing will happen. So with time, Nimai was born. And Advaita Acharya, when he saw, now before this happened, Advaita Acharya gave the mantra, Diksha, to Jagan. Little bit, I'm missing the story a little bit. So Nimai was born, Lord Chaitanya was born, but he would not drink the breast milk of Shachi. And Advaita Acharya came, and Advaita Acharya chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in Shachi's ear. And he's initiating her and Jagannath Mishra. And he said, you chant this mantra in the boy's ear, then he will drink your breast milk. This is another important point our acharyas explained, that the receiving mantra from a guru is so important. You know, Advaita Acharya was establishing this, Mahaprabhu was establishing this principle through Advaita Acharya. Now, by this time, Advaita Acharya had a school where he was teaching all of the students. And Nimai's older brother, Vishwarupa, was going to the school every day. And Mother Shachi would often send Nimai to bring the older brother when it was time for prasad. So all of the Vaishnavas were sitting. Haridas Thakur was there, Ramdas was there, Murari Gupta was there, Shuklambar was there, Ganga Das Pandit was there, Advaita Acharya was there. And when Nimai would come, little boy, all of the Vaishnavas would become really transfixed, you know, and they would just meditate on his soft limbs, and they would meditate on his form. And they would say, Nimai, why have you come? And Nimai would say, why have you called me? And so like that, Advaita Acharya and Nimai would have different pastimes. Meanwhile, Shachi, his older son, Vishwarup, having the association of Advaita Acharya, took sannyas at a very young age. And Shankaranya, and he took sannyas, went to the forest, never came home. And it was time for Nimai's education. First, he went to the school of Gangadas Pandit. He learned everything. He went to different teachers, went to Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, who was in Mayapur at that time, learned from him. And he learned from different sources, and then he came to the school of Advaita Acharya. And when Nimai also started liking the assembly of Vaishnavas and started really enjoying the school of Advaita Acharya, Shachi had a thought in her mind that, you know, this Advaita Acharya Prabhu is very dangerous. My older son already took sannyas, and I'm afraid that now my younger son is also associating with him, that he will also take sannyas and he may also leave home. But so she would try to keep with some pretext or another, she would try to keep Nimai away from Advaita Acharya. And mentally she would think that this Advaita Prabhu is a very dangerous person. So Nimai noted that. But at this time, Nimai Pandit obviously was in the mood of a scholar and a teacher, and he had not disclosed his real bhava. And so anyway, the time went by. Nimai Pandit, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, went to Gaya under the pretext of doing the Shraddha ceremony. There he meets Ishwarapuri. He served Ishwarapuri. Ishwarapuri blessed him with love of God by giving him Diksha and by telling him that you should do Harinam Sankirtan. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by Prakashananda Saraswati, why are you not reading Vedanta? He said that in this Kali Yuga, the best expression of Vedanta is to dance and chant on the holy name. So, like that, Nimai Pandit finally came back, and now he was completely transformed as a Vaishnava, and he displayed his entire bhava as the supreme devotee, the Bhakta Rupa. And Advaita Acharya, of course, was living in Shantipur. So during Mahaprakash Leela, when Ramai Pandit went to Advaita Acharya, and he said, Advaita Prabhu, please come, please come. Nimai Pandit is calling you. He said, why is he calling me? He said, Prabhu, he's saying that go and bring Advaita who had called for me. I want to show him. Mahaprabhu is giving darshan to everybody. So he has called for you and your wife. So Advaita Acharya, Sita Thakurani, Sri Devi, they all started coming. And Advaita Acharya was besides himself with joy. You know, he knew all along. He knew, but there was this little Maya which would cover him up. This is Vishnu Maya, or this is Yoga Maya, which would cover him up just for the propagation of rasa. So Advaita Acharya came. He got to Navadvip. Then he thought, let me test if this person is really who he says he is. And so he went and hid in the home of Nandanacharya. And he told Ramai Pandit that you go to the house of Shivas and tell Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that I have not come. So I would like to test him. And so Ramai Pandit ran to the house. He said, well, what can I do? He went to the house of Shivas, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, go to the house of Nandanacharya. And I know that Advaita Acharya and his family, they are hiding there. And go and bring them at once. And so Ramai Pandit went to the house of Nandanacharya, and he said that Mahaprabhu is calling you. He knows that you are hiding here. So Advaita Acharya was very happy. And of course, he got the darshan. He saw the universal form, saw the Shadbhuj Chaitanya form, saw the form of Radha Krishna, saw the form of Madan Gopal, saw the form of Madan Mohan, whom he was worshipping. And in that Mahaprakash Leela, when Mahaprabhu was giving darshan to everybody, devotees said, we should bring Mother Shachi, your mother. And Mahaprabhu said, no, do not bring Mother Shachi. And so then they were saying, why we should not bring Mother Shachi? Devotees asked. And Advaita Acharya, and then Mahaprabhu disclosed, Mother Shachi is an offender. She has committed offense to a devotee. And devotees are thinking, how can the saintly lady, saintly mother commit an offense? They were very deeply distressed, very disturbed. And then Mahaprabhu disclosed that although Mother Shachi committed an offense at the lotus feet of Advaita Acharya by thinking bad about him, by thinking negatively about him. And Advaita Acharya fainted just hearing that Mother Shachi will not get mercy because of him. So Mother Shachi was finally caught. Mother Shachi, devotees. So devotees asked, how can Mother Shachi be absolved of this sin? Said she can be absolved of the sin by taking dust from the lotus feet of a devotee. And Advaita Acharya became passed out, became unconscious. Devotees brought Mother Shachi. She took the dust from the lotus feet of Advaita Acharya. And then Mahaprabhu gave her the darshan. So yes, there are many things, but we should be careful. This one instruction, many instructions, Advaita Acharya taught. Through the instructions, he taught the philosophy. Finish in 5-10 minutes here. Taught the philosophy that one should not commit offenses to devotees. Advaita Acharya in Shantipur, he established a similar deity like Madan Mohan called Madan Gopal. And with his family, he was worshipping the deity. He had a school where he would teach devotees very systematically all the shastras. So the duties of a grihastha, deity worship, establishing a temple, Harinam Sankirtan, like that. So I'm sure devotees are very happy to see this scene. Advaita Acharya would write commentaries on the Vaishnava literature. He wrote a very seminal commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And every word in Bhagavad Gita, he would explain in a very devotional way. One of the criticisms of Prabhupada's commentary is that this is written in a bhakti bhav. But Advaita Acharya would meditate on Krishna, and from meditation, Krishna will guide Advaita Acharya on a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And every verse, every word would have a perfectly devotional interpretation. In fact, Srila Prabhupada perfectly followed in the footsteps of the Acharyas. When in the section of Karma Yoga, he says devotion to Krishna, Jnana Yoga, you have to understand this in the larger context, Prabhupada's commentary. When Prabhupada was criticized for his Bhagavad Gita commentary, he was in Hyderabad, people were criticized. No, this is not exactly what Krishna is saying. Krishna is saying, you should be good, you should do this work, you should do your duty, do this. And Prabhupada says you should surrender to Krishna. And ultimately, this is the main thirst of Bhagavad Gita. And this is how our Acharyas, starting from Advaita Acharya, Madhavendra Puri, Sridhar Swami have explained the Gita. So Advaitacharya would meditate. And if he was not able to find a pure devotional interpretation of a particular verse, he would fast that day. So one time, this particular verse in Bhagavad Gita, this is very interesting. In the 13th chapter of Gita, Krishna talks a little bit about Jnana, Paramatma. So this particular verse, Sarvatra Pani Padam Tat, Sarvatro Shi Shiromukham, Sarvatra Shoti Malloke, Samam Avartya Tishtati. This verse comes. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and face, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists, pervading everything. So the Mayavadis say that by giving Krishna a form, you are limiting him. He's so unlimited. He's totally unlimited. Why are you giving him a particular form? So this verse says in Bhagavad Gita, everywhere his forms are, everywhere his eyes are, his hands are, his legs are. So Advaita Acharya could not understand how to write a commentary on this. So he was fasting. So Krishna comes and says, you only eat when you make an offering to me. So if you're fasting, that means I am also fasting. Madan Mohan says, if you're fasting, that means you're not making any offering to me, so I'm also fasting. So he showed his universal form to Advaita Acharya, and he saw that everywhere is Krishna's hands. He's present, his eyes, his whole body. He pervades everything. So although he has a transcendental form, he still pervades everything. Having a transcendental form does not mean that you're limiting Krishna. Through his energies, Krishna explained to Advaita Acharya, through his energies, I am present everywhere. So he wrote this in the Bhagavad Gita, and he was extremely happy. He broke his fast. So Advaita Acharya wrote many seminal commentaries on the Vaishnava literatures. There was always this idea that Srila Advaita Acharya was senior, 52 years older to Mahaprabhu, and he wanted to worship Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu was always in this mood of awe and reverence and respect towards Advaita Acharya. So Advaita Acharya had to devise some means so that he can get the real mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he started preaching Jnana. He started preaching impersonal knowledge. He opened a school and he enrolled students, and he said, without Jnanam, there can never be any bhakti. And the devotees explained to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is what Advaita Acharya is doing. Mahaprabhu went to the school. Advaita Acharya was preaching from Yoga Vasishtha. It's a textbook which is deeply Mayavadi, which basically says that the Supreme has no form. Supreme is unlimited and expansive, but he cannot be limited to any form. Everything is one. Ultimately, you are that one. So he was preaching like that. So Mahaprabhu went up to the dais. He brought Advaita Acharya from the dais, dragged him down. He got on his chest, and he started punching him on his face. So blood coming out. Then he got up and he started kicking Advaita Acharya with his feet. And Advaita Acharya, throughout this whole thing, was in super ecstasy. He was in ecstatic consciousness. He says, oh, yes, I have received the mercy of Mahaprabhu. And Sita Devi came running, and Shri Devi came running. He said, he's an old man. What are you doing? How can you be beating him in front of his students? So this was one pastime. Another pastime, when Mahaprabhu went to Jagannath Puri, and Advaita Acharya was feeling separation from Lord Chaitanya, he started preaching Jnana again, second time. And then Advaita Acharya, then Mahaprabhu came and says, if you want me to call me, just call me like that. I will come. You don't need to do anything like this. So, of course, there are many beautiful pastimes when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. Somehow Nityananda Prabhu tricked him, brought him to the house of Advaita Acharya. Those 7 days he spent in the house of Advaita Acharya. There are many, many beautiful pastimes between Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, Haridas Thakur, and Mahaprabhu, and the wranglings of love between Advaita Acharya Prabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. Advaita Acharya was a Grihastha, and Nityananda Prabhu was also a Grihastha. But Nityananda Prabhu was an Avadhuta. Avadhuta means who follows no external maryada, who follows no external things. And Advaita Acharya was a staunch, he was a teacher, he was a grihastha. So often there is this beautiful pastime that Nityananda Prabhu would pull the leg of Advaita Prabhu, or he would go to his home and he would eat everything, or he would go and sit in the lap of his wife. and without wearing any clothes. And Advaita Acharya would say to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that what kind of person you have in your company, he will spoil my caste also. Please get him out of here. Like that. Eventually, Advaita Acharya was the leader of the Vaishnavas from Bengal, and he would, along with Shivananda Sen, would take all of the devotees to Bengal for 4 months of the year. Their yatra would take 1 month each one way, and they would stay 4 months there, the total 6 months. They would stay in the company um, of Mahaprabhu. It was Advaita Acharya who told Mahaprabhu, Prabhu, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. So that's a very important pastime. And then finally, Srila Advaita Acharya, one time Jagadananda Pandit had a nature in Jagannath Puri that he would correct Mahaprabhu. You should not associate with that boy. Why should I not associate with that boy? Because his mother is single. So what people would say. So you should not associate. He will tell Mahaprabhu whom to associate, what to eat, how much to eat, where to go, what to do. Sometimes out of love, he would bring like oil for him, nice sandalwood oil. He said, you should massage, I will massage your body with this. And Mahaprabhu said, the oil and the masseuse, this is all what was remaining after I took sannyas. So Mahaprabhu was always, one time he made a very handmade a quilt, very nice blanket for Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu said, this is luxury for a sannyasi. So then Jagadananda, he would lock himself and he would not eat anything or not talk to anybody. Then Mahaprabhu would have to go to him. He said, Jagadananda, I'm very hungry. Will you not cook for me? So like that. So Mahaprabhu would send Jagadananda for a few months to Bengal. He said, go and tell Mother Sachi I'm okay and give my report to Mother Sachi. So one time he went, he gave the report to Mother Sachi, gave the report to Advaita Acharya. And so Advaita Acharya asked Jagadananda Pandit, how's everything going? Everything is going very well. And then Advaita Acharya said that, can you please give a message, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And Jagadananda said, sure. He said, the message was, Aul ka kahile, loka haila baul. Aul ka kahile. Now, I'm not speaking perfect Bengali, but something like this. Aul ka kahile. Aul means pagal, right? Loka haila baul. Aul ka kahile, hatena bekai chau. Aul ka kahile, this message is given by another man, right? So this is a riddle. So Jagadananda went and told in front of all the devotees that this is the message Advaita Acharya has given. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Advaita, he calls the deity, worships the deity. When the worship is done, then he discards the deity. And all of the devotees are thinking, how is this Advaita Acharya's son? And the meaning of this basically is that tell the madman that everybody has become mad. Aul ka kahila, loka hila baul. Everybody has become mad. And hatena bekai chaul, in the market the rice is not selling, meaning there is no work for him now. And then tell them that this message is from another madman. So basically the message was Lord Chaitanya has done his, because Jagadananda gave that description of the vilap and the suffering of Mahaprabhu in the mood of Radharani. So Advaita Acharya said, now this purpose is served and he can do. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu one day in his complete vilap and the stage of suffering, he went to the temple of Tota Gopinath and the door was closed and Mahaprabhu didn't came out for a long time. When devotees opened the door, they could not find Mahaprabhu. A collective wail came out from the devotees. One by one, all the associates of Lord Chaitanya left, Lord Nityananda also left. Advaita Acharya, he left. When he left, he gave instructions to his son. Of course, the body, they are all Vishnu Tattva. The body of Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu was never found. Advaita Prabhu similarly went to the temple of Madan Gopal in his home. He closed the door and that's it. His body was never found. So, but before leaving, he gave instructions to his son. One of his sons is Achyutananda, one of the trees of Advaita Parivar. Achyutananda was a sannyasi, brahmachari sannyasi. So he told him, you should go and travel all over the world, all over the places and preach Krishna consciousness. He had a son, Grihastha. His name was Gopala Mishra, very, very strong personality. He gave him the worship of the deity as a Grihastha and he made him the guru to initiate other disciples. So traditionally in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, the Grihasthas would worship the deities, take care of the temples, and have a devotional community. Of course, the instructions were the same: worshiping the deity, having sankirtan, studying the scriptures. and like that. So this is a little bit about Srila Advaita Acharya. Let's see if there is anything else which I wanted to share. Yeah. So Sripad Advaita Acharya, he is the senior most among the Panchatattva. He is Bhakta Avataram. Because of him, he is a combined incarnation of Sadashiva and Mahavishnu. And it is because of his mercy and compassion we are all here. He empowered Srila Prabhupada to come here. He empowered Srila Prabhupada, Advaita Acharya empowered Srila Prabhupada to spread the holy name in whatever way. And the main message is that we should also try our best. With all of our faults and with all of our shortcomings, we should try our best. We should appreciate each other if they are trying their best. And Hare Krishna. So anyone else would like to say anything about Advaita Acharya or anything else? Naveen Krishna Prabhu, and Sadhu Prabhu, Vilan Prabhu, Chandravani Prabhu. Yes.
The other members, four, three members of Panchatattva.
Panchatattvatmakam Krishna, Bhakta Rupa is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhakta Swarupa is Nityananda Prabhu, Bhakta Avatar is Advaita Acharya. So it is said that these three are Vishnu Tattvas. So it is said among the Vishnu Tattva, there is one Mahaprabhu and there are two Prabhus. And the two Prabhus worship Mahaprabhu. So this is very nicely explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhaktakyam, the leader of the devotee. Bhaktakyam is Srivas Thakur, the leader of the devotee. So the Lord, He comes with His expansions, plenary expansions, portion of the plenary portions. He comes with His avatars. He comes with His devotees. So Srivas Thakur, who's Narad Muni, and then Namami Bhakta Shakti Kham. He comes with his devotional energy, which is Gadadhar Pandit, Radharani. Radharani came with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to simply have a role. So she can take care of him. She can read Bhagavatam to him. She can fan him. She can wipe his perspiration like that. So Gadadhar Pandit, when Mahaprabhu went to Jagannath Puri, take Kshatriya Sannyas. Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. So a Godhead is always accompanied with his expansions, his avatars, his devotees, and his devotional energies. All of his devotional energies.
So Advaita Acharya was Vishnu Tattva. So why did he himself propagated the holy like Sankirtan movement? Why did he call Mahaprabhu? And is this true that in other Manus, like this is current Manu where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes himself, but I heard that in other ones it is not directly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who comes. So is it that in the other it's that Manu in the other yugas Advaita Acharya himself propagates the holy name? Like how? That's the question.
That's the question. Why did Advaita Acharya not do it himself? Why did he have to call Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Yeah.
Because he wanted to call
Please.
Krishna of Golok. Raj Prem can be given only by Krishna of Golok Vrindavan. So Chaitanya, that Krishna who came is, of course, Mahavishnu is also Krishna in one sense, but he can only give Vaikuntha like that. So
Yeah.
that's a reason I heard that.
And then the other one also, in the other yugas ones.
Yeah, Vaikuntha is Aishwarya Bhav, Golok Vrindavan is Madhurya Bhav.
From the rasa.
Rasa perspective.
And about the yugas, Prabhu.
So the question was, why did Advaita Acharya, who's Mahavishnu and Sadashiva, had to call Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? The answer which is given by Prem and Hare Krishna Prabhu is to give Vraj Prem, to give the Prem, to give the Bhav of Radharani, and to give the Bhav of Vrindavan. That has not been given by Vishnu anywhere or at any time, but it is given by this particular form of Godhead. And the next question Damodar Krishna Prabhu has.
And then the other question, that for other yuga cycles, it is not Mahaprabhu who directly comes, right? It is Vishnu Tattva who actually propagates the holy name. That's true, right? In this
I
particular.
heard Gaur Narayan, another form of he comes, but so we are in a very special yuga.
Yes.
This yuga is very special where Krishna himself has come. The avatari has himself come. On the other places, Krishna comes, but it's avatar. It's not the Swayam Roop Krishna.
Okay, got it.
Anything else about Advaita Acharya anybody would like to share? Should we finish here? Devotees? Okay. So devotees, thank you very much. As you can see, offering has been done. Hari Krishna. Srila Advaita Acharya Mahaprabhu ki Jai. Thank you, everybody. What should we do now?